Dave the Diver is a game that I enjoyed and played a lot when it was in early access. As you can see here, I played the game for 15.4 hours before it got out of early access and was released into the 1.0 version. Now, the 1.0 version came out on June 28th of 2023, but I didn't really get into it right away. As you can see, the last time that I played was on December 15th of 2023, and because the game was released fully, I decided, you know what, let's start over from scratch. But I didn't really get that far. And just to further emphasize the fact that I didn't get really far during my second playthrough, here is the last achievement that I got, which is the discovering of the undersea village that I got on the 17th of May, 2023. And currently we are in May of 2024 as of recording this little bit. It is currently the 25th of May, 2024. And honestly, it is a great time to pick up Dave the Diver. Coincidentally, I saw when I booted up the game that the Dredge DLC was added to my account, and when I was recording this bit today, the Godzilla DLC also was added to my account as a free DLC. Granted, I won't see those DLCs for quite a bit further into the game, but it is a great time to boot up this game. And I was looking for a game like this, you know, a story game, very fun. The overwhelmingly positive reviews I can only adhere to because it's an amazing game, and that's why I decided to dive back in. And I'm gonna do the same thing as I did back in December. I'm going to start from scratch. So this is the very first week of me playing Dave the Diver from scratch. Like I said just now, as I started up the game for the very first time again, you can see that the Dredge DLC pack has been installed and added to my game. There are a few conditions though. I need to have the chicken farm, which I don't even think I got in my very first playthrough, and the traveling merchant will only appear at night during foggy weather. So those are two very specific conditions that I will have to keep my eye out for. And as I said earlier as well, I make the decision to start from scratch. Now this is apparently a very intense decision because the bar fills up very slowly. I guess to make it so that you're really certain of your decision. But I am, and we're starting Dave the Diver from scratch. And so here we have the starting sequence where Dave is enjoying his vacation, but an old acquaintance calls and he gets lured in by the promise of food. Little does Dave know that he has to go catch the food himself, but he doesn't know that. So enticed, enthralled by the idea of good food, of good sushi, Dave flies to this acquaintance of him. And so we are greeted by the individual in question, which is called Cobra. Cobra tells us a little bit about the place where we're at, which is called the Giant Blue Hole. And according to him, the Giant Blue Hole changes every time that you dive into it, giving it sometimes something of a roguelite feeling at first. But he says that the terrain and the ecology changes every time that I dive, which means there's unlimited potential for lots of fish, and for him, for profits. As I am Dave the Diver, Cobra convinces me to go for a dive, and he goes through the basics with me, swimming to a particular location, using the knife, and using the harpoon gun are some of the basics that he teaches me in this first little tutorial bit. Cobra then tells me about a restaurant that he's opening together with a sushi chef, and he asks me to join this endeavor. Kinda tempted by the idea of saying no and seeing what happens. I do end up saying no and declining the offer, but nothing really happens, and Cobra takes me to the restaurant to meet the chef in question anyway. At the restaurant, I meet Bancho, who is the head chef of the new establishment, and we talk a little bit, but during the talk, some earthquakes happen and the restaurant is in shambles. And now we need money in order to repair it to its former glory. And after leaving the restaurant, those are the first tasks that we are given. We need to raise 100 gold in order to repair the restaurant. And Bancho also asked us to catch 7 more fish so that we have 10 fish caught in total. As I dive down for the very first time, I catch a long fin batfish, some kajime. I also catch a red-toothed triggerfish, a yellow tang, 2 clownfish, a sea goldie, 2 red lionfish, more kajime and some agar, 3 pyramid butterfly fish, and some more yellow tang, which easily complete my task to catch 7 more fish. But this also leaves me encumbered, which means that I have to make my way back to the surface in order to not drown. After leaving the water, I make my way to the restaurant and I'm explained how things work. The 2 things that I'm learned first are adding dishes to the menu and learning how to enhance the flavor of said dishes. Afterwards, I have to get familiar with being a server as well. They make me pour tea and bring food to the customer. I also get the option, or I have to learn how to throw food away, but at this point in time, I don't remember ever needing that in my last playthrough. After this tiny tutorial of the restaurant, it is time to make the menu, upgrade some dishes, and serve the very first customers. After closing the restaurant for the night, we have this little cutscene that plays where a delivery boat, which I can only imagine it being a delivery boat, is dragged down into the depths by a giant tentacle. With a new day being upon us, we get to meet Ellie, who asks us to help her with her research, which introduces yet another layer to this game. She wants to study the blue hole and wants us to collect some agar and red starfish for her research. At first, Dave is reluctant, but after a reward is offered, he cannot help but want the reward, and he accepts. As we dive down for the first time on day 2, we mess around with some titan triggerfish, open a few boxes here and there, knock out a lionfish with a baseball bat, which I kind of loved on that day, not gonna lie. After that, we run out of oxygen and we have to return to the surface. During all of that, I managed to gather the ingredients needed for Ellie's quest, and having completed that, we gain some gold, and this happens to be the gold that we need in order to repair Bancho's restaurants to its former glory. Before going back for a second dive, Cobra tells us that we can also bring guns into the giant blue hole, and he introduces us to maybe the most majestical character that I've met so far, which is Dove. Dove gives a lot of sass towards Dave, but in the end, he does agree to help us and that he can build a basic underwater rifle for us for just 1 rope and 1 iron scrap. Diving back into the water for a second time, we collect the parts needed for Dove, and we also catch some fish to fill up our inventory once again. After surfacing with the materials needed, Dove shows us what we can do or how we can make the underwater rifle with a very fancy cutscene. The night on day 2 goes off without a hitch, as it is quite early on in the game and very simple, and we make a net profit of 119 golds. On day 3, we get introduced to Dr. Bacon, who is an archaeologist that is looking for the hidden city of the sea people. He then gives us a little bit of a monologue talking about the ancient underwater civilization, how it might look like, which surprisingly is kind of actually how it looks like. And he tells us that there is a signal at 70 meters that might be a hint to more of the sea people. Seeing as we currently can only go to 40 meters, he tells us that he will upgrade our diving suit for free for this very first time. And he then tells us about the DIVER app, where we can upgrade several things of our equipment. Mainly our oxygen tank, the diving suit, the cargo box that allows us to carry more stuff, and the harpoon gun so that we do more damage. The first upgrade to the dive suit that allows us to go 80 meters is on him, but before going in for the dive, I also make certain to upgrade the cargo box so that I can carry more fish back with me. On my way to the 70-meter mark, I catch some more fish and explore a bit of the depths before making my way to the icon, or the artifact that Dr. Bacon is looking for. After picking up the artifact, we have another earthquake that is followed by a giant eye spying on me before retreating into the dark. After hunting a few more fish, I use the escape pod for the very first time to make my way back to the surface. Here, the artifact is given to Dr. Bacon, and he wants us to continue to look for other signs of sea people. Moving back to Bancho's sushi restaurant, the place is finally repaired, and we get a bit of a tutorial explaining how we can change the interior of this place. We also get our own version of social media, which is Cooksta, and with the hashtag Bancho Sushi, we can get followers and post our own things on Cooksta as well. Seeing as the day wasn't over just yet, I go in for another dive, but this time I'm approached by a dolphin who seems in distress. I follow the dolphin, and it shows that his mate, a pink dolphin, is trapped under some nets. I used my knife in order to cut the ropes and free his mate, and they reward me with a pearl and some lovely dolphin moves. After this encounter, I swim around some more, encounter some more fish on the 70-meter mark, and fill up my cargo box until I have to swim back to the surface. And here, Dave has a bit of a monologue that it can be quite hard to manage a sushi restaurant with just two people, and that we might be needing, or that we might need to look for more people to hire so that it becomes easier for us in the long run. In comes another character introducing herself, and this time it is a female by the name of Yoshi. And she is actually a character from Bancho's past. After a bit of reminiscing about the past and where things might go wrong, we're tasked with making a whole roasted shark head. The ingredients for this dish are the head of a white tip reef shark and some olive oil. We also learn that we can research new dishes in order to serve these special customers, but we can also serve these special dishes to our other visitors for some added flavor and variety. When the explanation is done, we open up the restaurant and serve the guests with drinks and sushi, which nets us a nice 94 gold in profit. The next day, Dr. Bacon is back, and he is in high spirits. He made a radar that can better help with locating the signals he is getting from the potential locations of the sea people. After liking a few posts on Cooksta, I decided to call a person called the operator, who was in my contact list, because I hadn't seen this person before. But this is a place where you can enter promo codes, get fortune, which I don't know how accurate that is, and you can get some basic information with how many fish you've caught, and I think also how many customers you fed. Finally, I upgrade my air tank and the harpoon gun and get on my way. This dive, unfortunately, is cut short as I have a very close battle with a saw shark from which I have to run away. Afterwards, I also get the attention of a triggerfish, and he hits me once, and that leaves me with only 4 oxygen left to spare before I use the escape pod to go back to the surface. As I get back to the boat, another person introduces himself. This time we have a Sato, who tells us about a card game that is played within the giant blue hole, and the only thing that you really have to do is you just have to catch fish. Obviously, the higher quality fish, the higher quality card that you get, but everything else is done automatically. The second dive of this day is a little bit more of the same. It is swimming around, catching some fish to fill up my cargo box, and opening up the various chests on the way that I can find in order to make this run a little bit more fun for myself. Back at Bancho's Sushi, it is a regular evening, but we do manage to get the bronze reward, which gives us a few benefits like an extra menu slot, +1 to kitchen staff, +1 to the wasabi amount, and some new interior pieces. At the end of the night, we rack in a very nice 99 gold profit. At the start of the next morning, Ellie comes back with another request, and that request is to collect blue and brown shells in order to further along her research. As we dive down, the dolphin is back once again, and again he seems to be in distress. I follow the dolphin for a short while and his mate is once again captured, but this time is actively being carried away in a net. As I cut away at the rope, I get shot at from the boat above, and it gets pretty close as the net starts moving as the boat is ready to leave. But I manage to save the dolphin and reunite these two lovers once again, and this time I'm rewarded with a large gold bar. As I continue with the dive, I go for a rematch with the saw shark, and after a short battle I come out victorious and acquire its meat. In the meantime, I also managed to collect the seashells that Ellie was asking for, and she tells me about a app called Eco Watcher where I can do deliveries with fish and other items that I get from the sea in order to further along and get more rewards within this app. During the second dive of the day, I look for the white tip reef shark and manage to find it, and after a short little scuffle, a short little battle with this shark, I obtain its meat, and I am now ready to serve the dish to Miss Yoshi. Coming at Bancho's sushi bar, before I open up the bar, I ask him to enhance the saw shark meat that he has, and this animation pops in, and I have not seen this animation in all the hours that I played, and it goes hard. I was pleasantly surprised when I saw that animation. After that, I fill up the menu, and soon after I feed Yoshi the shark head dish. And it is soon followed by a beautiful cutscene of a person truly enjoying food. As Yoshi is satisfied, we get introduced to another portion of the game, which is hiring new people, because Yoshi is actually a recruiter. And seeing as the restaurant is growing, we will soon need more people in order to keep up with the growing demand. And so we start the recruiting process, we serve the customers more drinks and sushi, and end the day with a lovely 577 gold in profit. With all of this money, I choose to upgrade the air tank, dive suit, and cargo box before heading back into the ocean. On the second dive of the day, I make my way over to the signal, only to find the path being blocked. Dr. Bacon suggests that Cobra might have a solution, and it ends with voices in an unknown language all around me. Cobra, our lovely acquaintance, thinks that a bomb might do the trick, but he needs his drone in order to get the delivery because the delivery boats have been going missing in this area. And so I am tasked to get the drone materials that can be found in a place with a strong current. As the day is ending, we move back to Bancho's sushi bar, and we have our first appetizer elegant, ready to go. And so we hire Kyoko for the service portion of the restaurant. We have the money to rank her up twice, and so now she is also able to serve drinks, which is great because that is another task that I don't have to do myself. We enhance the saw shark meat once more, and then Bancho, this beautiful man comes in with another amazing animation. And so we fill up the menu and open up the restaurant, and it is quite busy, but with the help of Kyoko, we manage and end the night with a net profit of 700 gold. Now that we have a employee, the next morning Miss Yoshi installs a new management app onto our phone and tells us what we can do with it. Seeing as the day has just started, I decided to visit the restaurant for a bit and throw out some more flyers for hopefully another round of recruits. On the first dive of this day, I make my way to the limestone caves, which is the cave with the strong current. After swimming around here and there, I managed to find all the drone parts that Cobra was asking for and head my way back up with the escape pod. On the next dive, I end up taking on one of the bigger sharks in the depths and take on more than I can handle. Sadly, I fight, I maneuver, and I try to escape, but nothing is enough, and I end up losing all my breath for the very first time in this game. When you lose all your breath, you can only take one item with you, and I end up taking a 3-star Great Barracuda with me that I got during this dive. During the night, we get our cook stout rating increased from bronze to silver after a thorough inspection of our establishment and of our dishes. During this night, it also becomes very clear that we need to hire another cook to assist Bancho. During this night, we cannot help several customers and they leave the restaurant without being served, making them angry and not helping us further our cause. This also meant that we had to throw away some of the food that we had cooked. Luckily, we still make a nice profit of 514 gold at the end of the night. During this next day, Dr. Bacon gives us another visit, and Cobra also comes with exciting news. The Cobra shop is now open for business, and this is a place where I can buy certain pieces of equipment and also are able to sell certain things. Dr. Bacon gives a little speech and then also gives us a camera before he takes off once again. Before I go for the dive, I sell the gold bar to Cobra, which gives me a nice amount of gold, and this allows me to once again upgrade the air tank, diving suit, and harpoon gun. During the dive of the day, I managed to fill up my inventory nicely with the fish, and I make my way to the cave where I need to place a set explosive. I do just that. I place the explosive and then clear out of the way in order for this rubble to get blasted. As we make our way inside, we get greeted by a giant mural, and Dr. Bacon tells me to investigate 3 different points in this recording chamber before ending it off by taking a picture of the mural with the new camera that he gave us. Before we leave off, it seems that an artifact appears in the corner of this room, and after picking it up, I hear more voices in a language that I do not understand. Dr. Bacon tells me to not think too much of it and then come back to the boat, and there is conveniently an escape pod very close to the chamber, which I use to go back to the surface. After returning to the surface, Dr. Bacon takes the Sea People artifact and tells me that he will study it and the picture of the mural more closely in his lab, and that he will be in touch. As soon as he leaves, another group immediately approaches us, and they call themselves the Sea Blue. They're an activist group that are all about keeping the sea clean and free of the influence of men. They threaten us and then disappear as fast as they came. During the night, night at Bancho's Sushi, we have our very first VIP appearance in the way of Vincent the Gourmet, who is coming here to put Bancho to the test alongside a camera crew. Bancho is not impressed and asks for 2 days in order to blow this guy away with his cooking. In order to do so, he asks me to get sea grapes and white spotted jellyfish and salt that can be found in the limestone caverns. After that, we set up the new menu, we look at the new applicants, and we try to hire another cook, but sadly we don't have the funds to do so just yet. So we open up the bar, disappoint a few more customers, and close the night with 658 in profit. As you can then see here, we finally have a glimpse of seeing what the sea people look like. What we can see in this clip is this female sea person commanding the other one, but this doesn't last long as she is grabbed and taken by a tentacle. On the next day, we meet Dr. Bacon again, and he tells us that the artifact is imbued with some kind of power. Now this opens up another layer of the game in form of charms that give us new abilities and options while diving. He also tells us that he analyzed the artifact and that he found a very strong signal in the ocean depths. But sadly, I need a headlamp to reach those kinds of depths. Dave reckons that Dove might have one, and we ring him up as soon as Dr. Bacon leaves. Dove does indeed have a headlamp lying around for us, but in return, we have to go look for a figurine shipment of his that has gone missing. Before we go on our dive, I make my way back to the bar and we hire Carolina to assist Bancho with the cooking now that we have the funds to hire her. With the remaining gold that I have, just like with Kyoko, I train her twice, and now she is capable of doing the wasabi refills if necessary, though I will later figure out that the wasabi refills are only something that can be done by a server and not by someone who prepares the food, which I'm very sad about. During our dive, we come across the dolphin and his mate again. This time they are both cornered by pirates, and as soon as the pirates notice me, they threaten me and know that I'm the one that's been messing with their plans. Seeing as I'm a threat to their operations, I now have to fight 3 of the pirates in order to save the dolphins. In the fight, I realized that the knife is the most effective way at just chopping away at them. So after a short fight, they give up, leave, and the dolphins come back to me and give me a charm as a reward for my rescue service. Back on the boat, the charm reveals itself, and I also get the Echo Health bracelet. Seeing as I can equip 2 at a time, I choose to go for the Sea People bracelet, which allows me to survive a bit longer after running out of oxygen, and the Echo Health bracelet, which reduces damage taken by 10%. During the next dive, I make my way to the shipwreck and see Dove's figurine taken by the same tentacle that we've seen a few times now. Dave is rightfully scared, but that doesn't matter to Dove. In order to chase after the tentacle, he gives us the gas cutter, which will help remove some of the shipwreck so that we can continue to chase and save the figurine for Dove so that we can get our headlamp in return. The very next day, I get a message that Victor the Gourmet is coming, and this is the last chance to get the ingredients that I need. Luckily, I already have those ingredients in stock, so I just continue along my way. I once again make my way to the shipwreck and use the new gas cutter in a new minigame in order to open part of the ship so that I can explore new places and find the figurine needed to please Dove. Upon completing the minigame, I get a message that a dangerous presence is detected and that an event will occur that will end up with me returning to the boat. My cargo box is not too full, and I think that I'm well prepared for this fight, so I continue to proceed downwards. As we explore this extra area, we engage in our first boss fight with the giant squids. I first get blown back to the start and have to dodge his tentacles before I can get close enough to get a shot in on his eye. I have to do this dance one more time before he starts covering his eye so that it makes it a little bit more tricky. Luckily, I picked up a pretty good samurai sword along the way, and even though I take a few hits here and there and almost lose my breath completely, I manage to recover, and with a few hits from my trusty samurai sword, I'm lucky enough to take the giant squid down in just a few more hits afterwards. Even though we were there to save Dove's figurine, we have also saved the sea girl that was taken when we saw the cutscene earlier. She collapses and then is taken away by the other sea person that we also saw in the cutscene. Dove then tells us to stay on target, and we cut up some of the giant tentacle for Bancho to grill, retrieve the figurine, and then head back to the surface. Back on the boat, we give Dove his figurine in exchange for the deep sea headlamp, and since we obtained a giant piece of octopus, we also give Bancho a call to see what he can do with it. He suggests that the giant piece of octopus is not really servable to the customers, but he does suggest that we close down the bar and have a little party with just us friends. This turns out to be a nice little party where Dave goes around and he talks to every single person that is there. We have Yoshi, we have Dr. Bacon, we have Bancho himself, and all in all, I think Cobra's there too. And it just has some nice little memories. And in the end, we have a little bite, we have some beer, and we do a big old cheers. But there is one thing, and I'm kind of grateful for that, but Vincent the Gourmet was supposed to show up today. So I guess story events cannot overlap. So because we defeated the giant octopus, we then cannot also have a regular night at the restaurant or at the sushi bar. So luckily, that just gets postponed by a day. So Vincent the Gourmet will show up tomorrow. During the enjoyment of the nice beer, sadly, we are targeted once more, and the grenade launcher seems to be the choice for this fighter from Deep Blue. On the first dive of the very next day, John Watson shows his face and wants to teach us a lesson. But sadly, he destroys more of the wildlife than I do, but he doesn't seem to see it this way. After a short battle, we kick his ass and he leaves, but not without destroying more of the ocean. After this battle, we explore some more and head our way down to the blue hole depths towards the signal that the radar is pointing to. Upon arriving at the signal, we see that the female is collapsed and the male is frantically panicking. Sadly, we cannot understand them, and Dr. Bacon tells us that he might have an idea, but we first have to come back to the boat. Ignoring that for a little bit, I swim around the depths first, filling up my cargo box with the new fish from this area, and use the escape pod once more once I'm stocked up with the new meats for the sushi bar. Having returned to the boat, Dr. Bacon suggests that we make a translator in order to figure out what the sea people are saying. I have to collect 3 components that are scattered in places that I have visited before, like the recording room and the area beneath the shipwreck. Sato then comes along telling me that he got a notification that a boss card was obtained, and that also a new area is automatically unlocked the moment I visited within the app. Finally, more introductions are in order because I'm getting called by Udo, who is a reporter for the Weekly Fish magazine. His request is to send him beautiful photographs, which now opens up certain spots on the map for me to take pictures and capture certain fish, because the way that you can complete this game is by capturing fish, but some fish are just too large to capture, so you capture them via a photo. On the dive down, I encounter a pile of moving rocks. As I investigate these rocks, a tiny octopus comes out and sprays me with ink as it laughs at me. Not having any of it, we chase it to a sheet of metal that it hides behind. Luckily, we can make our way past this sheet with the newly obtained gas cutter. As we corner the octopus, it slips through a crack in the wall, and we notice a charm that is on the floor of this octopus cave. Next, we make our way to the cave underneath the shipwreck and acquire the microphone. zone. On our way to traveling to the record chamber, we fill up our cargo box with plenty of fish, leaving us encumbered once again. Though this doesn't matter much because we just swim slower for a little bit. Eventually, we make our way to the record chamber and get the Sea People Stone Tablet, and we use the escape pod to head back to the surface. Dr. Bacon takes everything with him and says he will have something for me by tomorrow. As we make our way to the sushi bar, it is finally time to serve Vincent the dish that we promised him. Bancho unleashes his magic onto the dish, and within moments, Vincent is blown away. He is so blown away by the dish that he gifts us a fridge so that we can start serving cold beer with our food besides the tea that we have normally. Before we open the sushi bar, we notice that there is a customer already enjoying a beer and being quite annoying. He tells me that he would love a dish that involves moray eel, but these only come out at night. Luckily, with my new headlamp, I can also choose to go for one dive every night, at the downside of it taking 1/3 of the available night hours for the sushi bar. The night at the sushi bar goes like scheduled, and we make 2,111 gold in profit. The next day, we get our translator from Dr. Bacon. We have Dove telling us that we can enhance our guns for more damage and status effects, and we learn of a jellyfish party that is happening in 3 days from now. This event will attract special customers, and if we can make the dishes that are in line with the theme, then we can hit the jackpot and earn quite a bit of money. After liking a few posts on Cooksta, I choose to upgrade my air tank, cargo box, and harpoon gun. Heading out for our dive, we make our way to the Sea People, and the translator seems to be doing its thing. We get told that the girl is actually the daughter of the village chief, and she needs a medicine made from feather coral and lily coral in order to recover to her normal self. As we explore more of the depths, we take a picture of the Opfa, fight a mega mouth shark, and gather the coral we need for the medicine. We then use, like always, an escape pod to go back to the surface. On our second dive, we are greeted by a whale, which adds to the beautiful scenery of this amazing game. And I really do think that they should just have more big creatures just in the background. Even if you don't do anything with them, even if you don't have to take pictures of them, just add giant creatures in the background. Maybe a megalodon and a giant octopus fighting in the background just for funsies, because why not? Later at night, we take our very first dive underwater, and honestly, I cannot remember everything being this aggressive. Literally everything wanted to kill me in there. I don't think there's a single passive creature during the night, which I for the life of me cannot remember. I do manage to catch the moray eel that the drunk person was asking for, and after that, and filling up my cargo box a little bit more, I make my way back to the surface. A little girl then makes her way into the sushi bar with a strange puppet who does all the talking for her. They also want a special type of recipe that we cannot make just yet. After that, we ask Bancho to make us the medicine dish, and as the night starts, we give Otto the dish he was asking for. He is so touched that he basically reverts back to a child because this was a dish that brings him back to his childhood. He is so touched that he tells us to meet him tomorrow morning for a surprise. The rest of the night goes without any problems at all, and we end the night with 868 in a profit for the night. Otto then calls us the next morning and tells us to come behind the restaurant. Here he managed to make a fish farm for us. The idea is that from now on, when Dave catches fish, he will also acquire some fish eggs that will be brought to the farm. Here they will hatch, and if there are 2 of the same fish, they can mate and make even more fish. On our first dive of the day, we return back to the sea people and hand over the coral medicine. As the girl recovers, she demands that we escort her back to her village, seeing as we are the ones that rescued her. Not having much chance to refuse, we carry her on our back as we make our way out of the cave. The path we take has some dangerous animals on it, but we manage to avoid the most dangerous one, which is the mega mouth shark. But then we have some exploding jellyfish along the way as well, who seem to be more of a problem. Luckily, me and the girl managed to tank the hits, and we make our way to the supposed entrance of the deep sea village. Sadly, the entrance is blocked by a pile of rocks, and we see a stake that is holding some stones together. Now, we have the brilliant idea to take the stake out and have the rocks fall, hopefully opening up the entrance. Though sadly, with my current gloves, I cannot pull or get a hold of this stake. This is where Dr. Bacon gives us a call and says that he can help with the problem. Dr. Bacon says that his team has developed special gloves that will allow me to pick all kinds of materials underwater, and that he will have them ready for me by tomorrow. The second dive, as well as the dive at night, are mainly to fill up my cargo box and to be able to supply the bar with plenty of meat for the sushi. Going into the bar, we achieve another Cooksta rating, and this time we've acquired gold. The night goes alright, but we are starting to need another server as we have a few angry customers and only achieve 710 gold in profit. The next morning, Otto gives us a call that the fish have reproduced and that we can see this visually when there is a little heart next to the fishing farm. We also make our way to the bar again to start the hiring process, seeing as we need a new server, and we head out for the dive now that we got new special gloves from Dr. Bacon. We get a little tutorial that we can hold on to things when there is a strong current, as well as being able to grab things like the stake. As the jellyfish party is approaching, I try and get as many as possible when I see that the limestone cavern is just filled with a different kind of jellyfish. And I also get the ingredients needed to make the recipe for the girl with the puppet. On our second dive, the whale is back and seems to be trying to say something. Dave records the audio and comments that we should ask Ellie about it later on. As we reach the deep blue depths, the octopus is back once again and runs away through some boards after spraying us with ink again. We use our new gloves to grab some rocks and smash the boards that he hit through, and this seems to be a shortcut back to the entrance of the Sea People village. Back at the entrance, we pull the stake that is in clear sight. Now, sadly, this doesn't seem to be enough, and we have to pull another set of rocks onto the pile. We make our way past a buttload of jellyfish, and we pull a second stake and a second set of rocks, which is enough to clear the way. Coming to the entrance, it says that we will encounter another strong creature to fight, but seeing as I am encumbered, I figure that now is not the time to go ahead and accept this fight. Back at the surface, we give Ellie a call and play her the recording of the whale audio, and she tells us that the whale seems to be looking for its offspring, and this turns into our new tasks, where we are tasked with finding the baby whale. We make our way to the sushi bar, and here we feed the girl with the puppet her dish of choice, and she opens up a little bit, saying that she wants to catch some choline, and gives us a bug net, which makes this possible and opens up yet another layer of catching within this game. Despite some customers running away angry, we do manage to end the night with 1,457 gold in profit. The next morning is the day of the jellyfish party, and I feel I am ample prepared for this event. We check the bar, see to the fish farm, and upgrade our gun. Afterwards, we make our way back down to the depths. In our travel to the depths, we manage to see an oarfish, and we take yet another lovely picture of this fish. I keep in mind not to fill up my cargo box too much and decide to face the dangerous creature we were warned about yesterday. After going in, it seems to be a creature called the wolf eel that we have to fight this time around. We dodge a few attacks, give it a few hits, but luckily this fight doesn't last long because we upgraded our gun and he managed to point his butt towards us, so we do some major damage to him. We take some of its meat and then we make our way to the village now that the way is clear. As we are an outsider, we get told that the village does want our help, but that we have to win the trust of the villagers in order for this to work. We get told of a magic mirror that we can install on our boat that will bring us directly to the village from our boat and vice versa, and that's all that really happens for now. Seeing as it is quite late, we've missed the shift for the bar, and the bar is now closed. Though we do head over and do some cleaning. As the lights are on from us cleaning, Yoshi notices this and comes in and has a little bit of a chat with us. She tells us about Bancho's past and why he nearly stopped being a chef. The story is that a very picky and high-profile actress came to the hotel he was working for, and he prepared a dish that was too grotesque for her to look at. It tastes amazing, just looks horrible. This horrified the actress and caused her to take her business elsewhere, and this caused Bancho to quit and take some time to work on himself. Luckily, Bancho managed to open up the sushi bar, and with the efforts from everyone, including Dave, this has made a huge difference for Bancho as a person and for his skills as a chef. In the morning, we tell Dr. Bacon all about the situation from the sea village, and he is absolutely shocked and wished that he could have been there instead. After this talk, we head to the sushi bar, hire Raul and train him up so that he can help us in serving the customers, seeing as we have that problem. And seeing as we reach the sea village, that is a very nice accomplishment for the first week of playing Dave the Diver. Now, I only managed to play like 3 days out of the entire week. I managed to play for 5.5 hours. With this, I have a full-time job, and I try and do my best. So that's 5.5 hours of Dave the Diver in the very first week. So I'm very enjoying this. Much of this is as I remember, but I've already recorded a little bit more, and though that goes into parts that I have no idea of. Basically, going to the sea village and helping them out is kind of how far I got with the early access version. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. But that was the very first week of Dave the Diver. I wanted to play V Rising after this, do a first week of V Rising, but maybe I'll just stick with Dave the Diver until I'm actually done. That's gonna do it for now. Hope you have a great day, and goodbye.